ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا. My respected brothers and sisters, may Allah's peace and His guidance, His mercy, His protection and His forgiveness be with you and with all your loved ones in this life and the day when we depart from this world. And inshallah, please excuse me, I ask you to close the window. I did this with my hand. Please just leave the blinds up and close the window. So the day we leave here to the next stage of our life, which is the stage of grave, and then the day when all of us will be taken out for accountability in front of the Lord Almighty on the day of judgment. And may His peace, His guidance, His mercy, His protection, His forgiveness be with you and with all your loved ones, inshallah, on that day. Today, inshallah, we are going to discuss the ayah number, together study ayah number 237, 238, 239, and 240 of the second chapter of Quran, chapter Al-Baqarah. Before we come to this ayah, we are going to read something from Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains what Quran is, explains about Quran. What is this book about? So it is in Surah Al-A'raf, 7th chapter, ayah number 24, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا قُرِيَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. That, O people, when the Quran is recited, is studied, listen to it, or is talked about, listen to it and pay full attention to reflect, to understand and apply its legislation on yourself, that you may receive the mercy of Lord the Almighty. Inshallah, today, as I said, the ayat will be ayah number 238 to 240 of this today's topic. So first we will do the recitation, and then the translation, and then the meaning of these three ayat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. فإن خفتم فرجالا أو ركبانا فإذا أمنتم فاذكروا الله كما علمكم ما لم تكونوا تعلمون. والذين يتوفون منكم ويذرون أزواجا وصية لأزواجهم متاعا إلى الحول غير إخراج. فإن خرجن فلا جناح عليكم فيما فعلن في أنفسهن بالمعروف. والله عزيز حكيم. صدق الله العظيم. Inshallah, then the translation, and then we come down to the tafsir of these ayat. Maintain and safeguard your obligatory prayers with care and consistency, and particularly the middle prayer, and stand before your Lord devoutedly obedient. Next ayah is, and if you fear an enemy or in the situation of war, pray on foot or even while you are riding. When you are safe, then remember your Lord in prayers as He has taught you. what you previously did not know. And next ayah is ayah number 240 of Surah Al-Baqarah. And of those of you who die and leave behind wives should bequeath for their wives a year's maintenance and residence without turning them out. But if wives leave, then there is no blame on you for what they do to them with themselves, provided it is an honorable mean. Allah is all exalted and all wise. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. My respected brothers and sisters, the tafsir means exegesis, the explanation of any ayah or any word, explanation in detail and how and where it applies. Today, inshallah, we are going to use Tafsir Abdullah ibn Abbas, Tafsir al-Suddi, Tafsir al-Qurtubi, and a little bit of Tafsir ibn Kathir, and inshallah we will wind it all up in 1 hour. After mentioning the rules about the matters related to the marital relationships and divorces, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these two ayat talks about the importance of prayers and safeguarding and offering prayers at their fixed times. Prayers have to be offered at a fixed time. The adhan have to be called, and then after adhan, the iqama, the standing for prayer, they are fixed times. It is nobody's jurisdiction, or it is nobody's authorized to change those times except in cases of war or in case of fear. And even in those two cases, there are certain people, those who are exempted to pray in time, but there will be two groups. The one group will pray in time, and the other group will stay vigilant and stay defending the cause. And then when the first group finish prayers, then the second group will go back and pray. And even the units of prayers are different in time of fear, and time of war, and in time of peace. That how many units of prayer you would pray? And if you ask an ordinary person, people like me, we don't know. We don't know what those details. And then we continuously keep falling in those pitfalls, keep making those mistakes, and they say that this is too hard to follow. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is emphasizing in these two ayat about safeguarding and offering prayer at their fixed times. Sahih al-Bukhari, which is the compendium of collection of traditions of prophets, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the most authentic compendium of collection of traditions of the Prophet. And the second one is Sahih al-Muslim. And in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim is narrated from Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas. You see, this hadith I am talking about is because we don't know that the prayer time, neither the adhan nor the iqamah can be changed by anybody, except in two cases. Cases of fear. In case of fear, like what is the example of fear? Example of fear, suppose you are driving from here to Los Angeles, okay? And there are these rest stops. And you come to a rest stop, and there is a prayer time, you come to a rest stop, and it is completely deserted and you are only car. And there are two men and two women and small children in the car. What are you going to do? If all of you stand in prayer and your stuff and all your belongings are there in the cars and all that, and you are in a deserted area, then it is safer and better for a group to pray first, and when they finish, then the other group to pray. But they must pray in the time which is prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not by somebody arbitrarily change the times and say, we think that this has to be done this way. Those things are not given in the hands of people. So Sahih Bukhari, because there are two sources of guidance. Number one source of guidance is what? Quran itself, the words of Allah. Number two, the second source of guidance for Muslims is the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then after that, whatever Prophet taught to others, the companions and the friends of the companions, those who came after the companions, them. So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who was one of the, when the revelations used to come to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was illiterate. You know, he couldn't read or write. And he was ummi, means that he was unable, he was not literate. So, for a person who was not literate, what he used to do, that he used to tell some of his friends, some of his companions, those who knew how to read and write, he used to tell them what to do, so what to write. So they used to write that. So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, that was his name, he was one of the people. The sun is directly hitting you, so if you like, you may come on this side or that side. Good. So you are fine? Okay, thank you. I care about you. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's companion Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, once I asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which deed is dearest to you after having a faith? After accepting Iman, after accepting faith, which deed is dearer to you? To Allah. Which deed is dearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, praying your prayers in the fixed time. Don't delay your prayer. Praying your prayers in the fixed time. It is in Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari. Then he asked, then he says that then what? What is the next best act which God loves of his people doing? He said, birr al-walidain, being dutiful and good to your parents. That was the second thing. And he says the third thing. What was the third thing, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So he said the third thing is to strive in the cause of Allah, like feeding the poor, like helping those who do not have what you have, sharing with people, sharing your knowledge, sharing food, sharing clothes, sharing, whatever you can with others. These are the manners of jihad fi sabilillah. Then comes to a time when you are avoiding the fight, when you are avoiding a conflict, and the conflict keeps knocking at your door, what you are going to do? Then you are going to defend yourself. That is another kind of jihad. So he said the third best deed is jihadun fi sabilillah. So prayers are the fundamentals of Islam, my respected brothers and sisters, and the medium of connecting with Allah the Almighty. The prayer reminds us that one who created us is always watching over us, and He has not left us without guidance. We make something, religion is not an auto dealership. The Toyota makes a certain model and they send it to the dealership, park it there whether it is sold or not. God does not leave people without guidance from the day the day their conception starts in their mother's womb, from that day till they go to the womb of the earth, till they are buried. And then their accountability starts later on. The prayer reminds us that we pray. What's going on?
Some construction.
The prayer, we prepare and purify ourselves for prayers. We prepare for prayers. Like we heard the adhan, we know the time of prayers. We stand up, then we prepare. We do ablution. We clean ourselves, wash your hands and this and that, and we prepare. What is that reminds you? 5 times a day, these prayers remind you that you are facing your Lord, right? You are going to do your wudu, your ablution, to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those every day, 5 times a day, reminds you that there will be a day, the day of judgment, when you are going to see God face to face. To prepare for that day. Prepare for that day also. That is one of the purposes in the prayer, is a reminder that there will be a day that today you are facing the direction of Qibla, then there will be a day when you will be facing only one direction, and that will be the direction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you will be facing Him, looking at Him, and He already has an account of whatever we have done and whatever we do and we don't do. He already has that account. The outer purification and preparation reminds us, why do we prepare coming for prayers? You need to be clean-hearted, clean bodies, clean actions, and proper attire for coming for prayers. And without devoted, timely, and acceptable prayers, we cannot resist the temptations of this life. Without prayers, there is no other way you can resist the temptation of this life. That what life shows us, and it always shows us that these are the most beautiful things. These are the things you should be doing. You know, it puts it, you know, when you look at a dance club, or when you look at a liquor store, do you see it that it is not decorated at all? You know, do you see the, please get more chairs. Get the chairs back. The people, when someone goes to, you know, you drive by, and when you look at a church or a synagogue or a masjid, you would not see all that decoration. You would not see all those, you know, colorful lights. You would not see all those neon signs in front. All these things which are bad, all these things which hurt you, are shown to you as something which is good for you. And that is the attraction. That's how they allure. That's how they allure people. That's how they invite people to do something which is not right. Because if all those decoration, if all those signs and all those things would not be there, you would just drive by it, like we drive by by our masajid, or we Christians drive by their churches, or Jews drive by their synagogues. You know, because there are not all these lights and things like that, and the women and men is standing outside alluring people, inviting people towards what is wrong. That's where the faith of test, the test of faith is right there. It shows you that it is alluring you. It shows you an aspect. It shows you a side of something which actually is not good for you. But it is being presented to you that this is something wonderful, very beautiful. You know, so without devoted, timely and acceptable prayer, now we are coming to Tafsir As-Siddi, rahmatullah alayh. These Tafsir are 1,000-year-old or more. And Tafsir As-Siddi said that without devoted, timely and acceptable prayers, we cannot resist the temptation of this life, and we can be swept away very easily. You know, leaving the prayer and not reminding ourselves that there is supposed to be a connection between us and the one who created us. The us and the one who loves us at minimum of 70 times of the love of the mother. Who carries you in the, and even if people say, you know, you should go and have an abortion. No, this is my child. You know, no matter what happens. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you 70 times more than your mother. And this is the only through prayers we prove that this is the God. We cannot love God as much as He loves us. Look around us. Look around us every time. Take a time of the day. Pick a time of the day. And you would see that even those who are denying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wanted, He can stop them from inhaling or exhaling the breath which is keeping them alive. But He is merciful. He has created us. He has taken in His hand that He will continue to guide people. He will continue to keep. I always say to people that, look, we knock all these doors for our needs. Remember, Allah does not even have a door on His house. He keeps it so open, He didn't even put a door frame. He didn't put a door. Just go to it and see what you get. And how do you go to that door? You know, how do you go and get in touch with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Nothing but the prayers. My respected brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah, it's an adjective that is used. It says, wusta. Hafizu ala salati wa salati wusta. Wa qumu lillahi qanitin. Qumu lillahi qanitin. Wusta means that it signifies that it is regulated and balanced position. There is a time when the adhan have to be called. There is a time when the prayer must stand. For the Fajr prayer, dawn prayer, after the adhan, you have around 20 to 25. In some areas, they would say, because of the geographical position or the position of Earth around Sun, it can change between 18 to 25 minutes. You must stand for prayer. Zuhr prayer after adhan, which is nowadays is 12:21 p.m. The prayer should not be delayed more than 12:41, 20 minutes. Asr, the same way. Maghrib, 5 minutes after the prayers. Before the sun completely disappears from its axis, you must pray 5 minutes after the prayer is called. Isha, you have 20 to 25 minutes max. Nobody is authorized to change prayer times. This is the ayah of Quran. And then it is proven from Surah An-Nisa, which is 4th chapter of Quran, ayah number 102 and 103. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us again about those two things. It signifies that all prayer should be performed at a designated time with full devotion and attention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to His orders. The expression Salat al-Wusta also means the middle prayer. Middle prayer. Okay, and not only, Arabic is such a deep language that if you don't know Arabic, you may just take one meaning from a word. Wusta has another. Wusta means balanced. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls us وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَتَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses exactly the same word, wusta. Means you are a balanced ummah, which looks at good and bad and choose the right. You are a balanced ummah. That's another meaning of wusta. But in this word, in this ayah, it is Salat al-Wusta. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said Salat al-Wusta, it means the middle prayer of the day. Middle prayer of the day, of course, there are more than 5 prayers, but not only 5 prayers are obligatory prayers. The other prayers are nawafil. If you pray, it's a good deed. If you miss it, it's no problem. Okay? So it shows us the Salat al-Wusta is Salat al-Asr. Salat al-Asr, you can't delay more than 20 minutes. According to Quran, our biggest problem, the biggest enemy of Muslims are Muslims themselves. It's our political leaders and our religious leaders. Majority of them. The clout is about how you look, what you have dressed. Believe me, if Islam is not about that, Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab have the same attire as Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They were from Makkah. That's anthropology. That's anthropology. Their dress was not different. They were not in 3-piece suit. They had the same dress. It's about your action, not about the outer display of piety. How do we behave? How much do we understand Quran? And believe me, memorizing Quran and not understanding Quran is a sin. Memorizing only itself is a major good deed. But memorizing and not understanding negates that good deed. We need to understand when we stand in prayer what we are saying. If you ask someone, an ordinary Muslim like me, what is the meaning of Sami Allahu liman hamida? The guy doesn't know. We are saying something. We have trivialized Quran. We have paradised Quran instead of understanding Quran. Just memorize and forget it. That's a major sin. There are various opinions of the companions of the Prophet that which prayer is Salat al-Wusta. But there is a hadith. We have to, when we don't understand something from Quran, then we have to look the second source of guidance, which is the source of the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That what did he say about such and such topic? And we have to go to authentic source. The authentic source tells us that during the time of the hadith is narrated by Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, that during the time of battle of trenches, the pagans and the disbelievers of Mecca, Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina. So there were several battles. One of the battles was Battle of Trenches, Ghazwat Khandaq, where the trenches were dug. And I'll talk about what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did during the battle of trenches. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's plan was something else. He was Allah's prophet. He was the prophet of God, right? He planned to fight that war in a certain way. Some of the companions, those who have more experience, of fighting, they came to Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they asked, Ya Rasulullah, O Allah's Messenger, has Allah sent any guidance about fighting this war, fighting the enemies in the plan which you discussed? He said, no, this is my opinion. Say this to today's Muslim leader, he will throw you in jail and throw the key away, and maybe eat the key. That you disagreed with him. So Prophet said, was there any, he told them that no, there was no ayah came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah did not tell me to do it this way. This is my personal opinion. So they disagreed with the opinion of the Prophet. And they said, we think that that battle should be fought in such and such way. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he receded his opinion and he says, you are right, I take your opinion. Please go to any Muslim, any Muslim organization, any Muslim country and disagree with your leader, see what happens to you. You will be cut off completely. You would not be allowed to pray. You would not be allowed to call yourself that, your passport will be taken away if he's a bad political leader. You would not see the sunlight. Don't try it in Saudi Arabia. You will never see the sun again. No matter who calls themselves what. This is where the enemies of Islam are. This is where they are. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam during that ghazwa, the Asr time came. This is before this ayah number 238 and 239 came. Okay, that before this ayah these two ayat was revealed, this happened. And we need to know. We are more worried about which tribe I am from, which country I am from, what is the color of my skin and why somebody else is different than me. And if he is different than me, then he will have no value as I have. We are worried about that. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he saw that the Asr prayer time came, and he was so preoccupied because the pagans of Makkah has sieged Medina from all sides. So the prayer time came, and it started getting late. So the Prophet said that, oh Allah, make their graves and their houses, fill them with fire because they have delayed our prayers. He made a bad dua for them. That may their houses be filled with fire. If they are dead, then their graves be filled with fire because they have delayed our prayers. Once I went to Pakistan about 16, 17 years later. This is why some of the countries have started a central prayer called Adhan, and a time for everybody to pray at that time. Turkey, in my country, that's how it is. Adhan will be called at one time. Prayer will be, everybody will stand up, line up for prayers at a certain time. Not that this was a prayer at this time, the other one say he's wrong, I pray at that time. There is no such thing. These things are decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Muslim, the compendium of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is what it says. And because he used the word Salat al-Wusta, my middle prayer has been delayed. So may Allah fill their houses and their graves with fire because they delayed my prayer. Delaying prayer for the time which I talked about, delaying prayers from that time for any other reason is a major sin. It should not be. Think about it. 15th of April, last day of filing taxes? Delay that, see what happens. The command to pray in time isn't plural. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word because we don't know Arabic. In Arabic it says, قُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Qumu is a plural, not a singular. Qam is plural, singular. Qumu, now you all stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a timely manner. So when it is plural, it means what? Everybody is involved. Those who say we are Muslims, they cannot disagree on that. We disagree on it every day. And we do whatever we like to do. The prayer timing is not a matter of personal choice or convenience. That this is convenient for us, no. If it is not convenient for you, fine and dandy. Come and pray when you want to pray. But you cannot delay the whole, all people, those who are coming to pray to that one masjid or all masajid, their prayer should not be delayed. You can pray later, yes, you want to, please. You're not available, you're driving, nobody is asking you to drop everything and rush. Okay? You can pray later. During the time of peace, there is no reason to delay the prayer more than 5 minutes. More than 5 minutes. And it is accounted, all Imams say that it is accounted as a deliberate disobedience of Allah to delay the prayer. It is deliberate disobedience of Allah to delay the prayer. We need to be extremely cautious, my respected brothers and sisters, in matters where clear orders of Almighty Allah and traditions of the Prophet already exist. Nobody is authorized to bring an opinion. Oh, this ayah is a little bit, this verse from Quran is a little bit, harsh, or this I cannot do, it is too hard, let's change that. Those things cannot be done. You can do it, but don't call yourself a Muslim after that. In chapter An-Nisa, ayah number 102, ordains us clearly. All of you have Quran at home, alhamdulillah, and some of you may have Quran in your heart, memorized it. Ordains that only those who are engaged in fighting, are given the privilege only during the time of war to delay the prayer. And what you would do, that half of you will pray, and the other half, even if the war has not physically, practically started, and you are in time of war, then what you do at that time, that one group prays, the other group is stay vigilant. And when the first group finishes prayer, then the other group goes and pray. And that is all right, because this is time of war. A time of fear, the example that if you are going to Los Angeles and you are only car and you stop at a rest stop, okay, and it is deserted, you are the only one there. Are you going to pray there, all of you together? No. It could be some animals. Some animal can attack. It can be somebody else who had bad intentions. So what you do, half of you, stay there in vigilance, and half pray. And when the first group of people finish prayer, then the other go and pray. That is only. Now, in the ayah number 103 of Surah An-Nisa, which is the 4th chapter of Quran, Almighty Allah ordained that only those who are personally and physically. It's not the president is sitting in his palace and he said, because this is time of war, I can pray later. It's not on him. Those who are there at the border, if they are at patrolling, patrolling the border and all that and getting ready to fight, or these provisions apply for them. These privileges apply to them, not to everybody. The ayat of Quran about prayers and their timings, my respected brothers and sisters, command us to perform prayer at the prescribed time with clean and appropriate attire, ablution, intention, understanding what is being said in prayer. What is being said in prayer? We need to understand what we are saying. We are saying it in Arabic and we don't know anything about it. So it is required for us to understand in whatever language we understand. You don't have to know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have to. If you make a dua, after prayer you started asking Allah to help you in anything. You can say it in any language. Allah doesn't have to use Google Translate, astaghfirullah. He knows what you are saying. Heart speaks. It's heart to heart between you and the one who created you, because He loves you the most. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the next portion of the ayah, there is another hadith from Sayyidah Aisha in one of the books of hadith in Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi and Sunan Abu Dawood and Musnad Imam Ahmad. And that hadith said that Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha narrated by her that she thinks that the middle prayer is the Dhuhr prayer because it is prayed closer to the middle of the day time. So this is not the topic of our discussion today. It is the topic of discussion is praying in the fixed, appropriate, already apportioned times, and don't change the prayer timings to make it convenient for somebody. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. That means then stand before Allah as a devoutedly obedient servant. You know, we all mean, you own a business, you know that you have an employee, but he may not be devoutedly obedient employee. Always show up late. So don't be late in prayers. You know, قُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Qanit means this is the firm order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not a suggestion. It is not a suggestion. The word qanit means a devoted servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyidina Rabi ibn Anas said the qaniteen means those who stand in prayer, those who go down, those who prostrate in extending. They must extend the time which they take in their ruku', in their sujood. And when they are praying, have the presence of your heart in it. Because if the Sacramento mayor was here, believe me, everybody will wait for him outside for 15 minutes. When we go to in front of God, we prostrate, we go down, we say one thing three times, and get up like somebody is chasing us. Look at our Tarawih prayers. Tarawih prayers, it is disrespect to read Quran fast. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us. In Quran itself, وَرَتِّلَ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا وَرَتِّلَ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا and Surah Al-Muzammil. In the very beginning, first few ayat, that read Quran in a beautiful voice slowly. Because we get people and then end of the Ramadan, we give them $300. That's why he wants for Ramadan to finish earlier too. That's the discussion of whether it was 29 days or 30 days is because of one of those reasons, could be. God knows. And As-Suddi in his book says, and Al-Qur'an and Al-Dahhak, these are all the writers of exegesis of Quran of few hundred years ago. Okay? That every word qanit used in Quran, it is about obedience of Allah and refraining from deliberate disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn Abbas said that qaniteen means devoutly calling and praying to Almighty Allah, and it is also used in on all hadith where the word qanit is used, it means devoted submission to the wish and will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next ayah, my respected brothers and sisters, we have 20 more minutes, so bear with me. the ayah number 239, it says, and وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا. Some of the Arabs, because knowing Arabic does not make you a scholar of the book. Knowing the meaning understanding the meaning makes you a scholar. Alhamdulillah, I have an advantage of Arabic language, reading, writing, and speaking, and also Turkish. So, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا. If you ask an Arab what is the meaning of rijal, they will say men. No, it's not. Rijal, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا means if you are walking on your feet or you are mounted on any mode of transportation. Okay? So it says that if you fear an enemy or an adverse situation, pray on foot. That if you miss sijda, okay? And if suppose there is a situation where a person cannot, he is disabled, okay? He is handicapped, or he is sick. He is not exempted from prayers. He is exempted from sijda if he can't do it. He is exempted from ruku if he cannot perform ruku. He is exempted from standing up if he cannot stand up. But he is not exempted from prayer. This is the only act of worship, my respected brothers and sisters. The only act of worship there is no exemption. Except for a person who does not have his kuku in place. If a person doesn't know and his mind is not in place and he has some mental incapacitance, then he is exempted for the time when he had that mental incapacity. When he becomes okay, when he is treated, he becomes okay, then he must make up for those prayers which he has missed. There is no exemption for prayers. At the time of war, the 4 rakats of prayer, my respected brothers and sisters, for our information, mine and yours. Here, there is no teacher in this program. Remember that. Okay? We are all students. At the time of fear, then the prayer is 2 rakats. 4 will be reduced to 2, and 2 will be reduced to 1. And the action, at the time of fear and time of war, is not necessary if you pray in the direction of Qibla. You don't have to. If you don't go, you don't have to. If you cannot, if you are mounted, means you are on a horse or a camel or in a car, that was the mode of transportation then. Whoever is driving the tank, okay, and going to the battlefield and the time comes, the others can pray while they are still mounted inside the tank, sitting there. They cannot stand up and do the ruku, but they are not allowed to give up the prayer. They are not allowed to give up the prayer. In this ayah, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the occasional state of fear and war, and makes it clear that prayer cannot be delayed or cancelled for any other situation other than fear and war. Fear of life, fear of your own safety. If you give up, if you come out, there may be, you might have seen an animal, it's a bear, and you were going to Nevada, right? And you saw a bear there, and you want to pray. So you find a place which is a little safe, you pull over, one of you stay vigilant, don't pray, the second person pray inside the car if you can't come out. But you can't give up the prayer. In those adverse situations, people are allowed to pray while they are on feet. They are not mounted, they are on their feet, they were walking, okay? They are just, at the borders, they are fighting, they are soldiers. They are riding a horse or any other mode of transportation. Furthermore, in situation, people are permitted to pray. You are permitted to pray with nods. You can head, Now I have seen people, because I go sometimes to different hospitals and also hospices, which is in the prisons, that people are praying with the nod of their head. Heart, you don't have to have a language between you and Allah. He knows what's in your heart. وَمَا تُخْفَى الصُّدُورِ. That what is hidden in your heart, Allah knows that. And Imam al-Shafi'i said that it applies when the Muslims are actually in sight of the enemy. It is not that there is a declared war and the whole nation start going for prayer and stop praying. Because there is a fear of war. No. If the war has actually started and people are actually participating in that war, only then they can delay the prayer. Other than that, they must pray in time. Their 45 positions can be under fear that it can be attacked. Then the half of them will pray, the other half will stay vigilant in their 45 positions, and they will continue to defend themselves. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar said the war does not invalidate the obligatory prayers. No situation. It's not that if you are, like in case of zakat, if a person is poor, he doesn't have to pay zakat. If you don't have your earned income enough that you should go for Hajj, you should not beg people to send you to Hajj. It's haram. Hajj is not for you. Some of the communities have sent some people for Hajj. They ask people to collect money because we want to send so and so for Hajj. It's not for him. Use that money for something else. Use that money to help the community. Use that, and community, my respected brothers and sisters, is not only that you have a Muslim should help Muslim. No. Anybody. Hunger is hunger. Poverty is poverty. Whether Muslim, Christian, Jews, whoever. Even a pagan, even one who denies God. You doing it for the sake of Allah. For your own sake. He doesn't need it. Then it says that Sahih Muslim, Sunan Abu Dawud, An-Nisai, Ibn Majah, Hasan al-Basri, Qatada, Al-Dahaq, and Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Jarir, rahmatullah alayhi, reported that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas said that Allah has ordained the prayers by the words of your Prophet. By Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that 4 rakat. Rakat means what? Units. You stand up and you finish at second sidda, 1 unit. So 4 units of prayer, 4 rakat of prayer while you are in peace. 2 rakat of prayer while you are traveling a certain distance. Okay? And 1 rakat at the time of war and fear. You make a niyyah, an intention of praying 1 rakat of dhuhr fard, and there is no sunnah. Okay? You can pray if there is fear and war. Then it's 1 rakat. 2 rakat in case of your travel. And we will talk about today, there is no time to talk about that why that there are, like siyam, fasting. It's not fard on person who cannot fast. It's not fard on the woman who is going through her monthly course. It's not obligatory for her. She's excused from that. I have seen some people came from somewhere in the area to do the fundraising for their masjid in the area during Ramadan. And all of them were sitting in the conference room during Ramadan and eating. And I said, brother, where have you come from? They gave me a name of a city which is very close to, I don't want to name the name. But anyway, before going to the area, the city is there. And the guy said, because Islam allowed us not to fast if we are traveling. That's not right, my respected brothers and sisters. If you are traveling, you should have the fatigue, the criteria which Islam establishes. Remember, God has not created you unguided. He continuously sent from Adam to Muhammad. He continuously sent his scripture to people and guided people in different times. You know, if you get the fatigue of riding a camel or riding a horse, continuously going for 30 to 40 miles, that fatigue, if you have traveling, if you suffer that fatigue by traveling, if you get that kind of distance, only then you can give it up. You come from BMW 735i from the area to here to collect money for a masjid, and you sit in the hall and eat while everybody was fasting. And say, Allah has given us that provision. And if that kind of people are building masjid, you know what will happen to the community. You know, every religion is about the knowledge. It's not about lack of. It's about the knowledge. And then the next part of the ayah said, فَإِذَا أَمَنْتُمْ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا أَلَّمَكُمْ كَمَا أَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. That when you are saved, then remember Allah in prayers, like you were told to remember. You know, don't continue to read the fear is gone, the war has ended, you continue to pray 1 rakat. Because I used to pray like that. No, it's done. There is no fear. You are not traveling. You need to pray the number of rakat which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered you to pray. No if and but. Okay? Yes, Hajj, Zakat, Sadaqat, and all these things you will do if you have the capacity. If you don't have the capacity, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that give walau bi shaqqa tamar, that give even if it is a piece of a date. You know, for young people, this is not the date which is, about Starbucks and all that. No, this is the date fruit. So you just get it. Even if you give a piece of date fruit to somebody as charity, it is recommended for you to do it. The charity is so important. As in one of the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that da'u mardakum bis sadaqa. Da'u mardakum bis sadaqa. That treat your sick family members or sick friends or people you care about. Treat them by giving in their name charity. Giving charity for their benefit. Da'u mardakum bis sadaqa. We are unaware of a lot of things. Allah commanded us to safeguard the prayers in every situation. Health or illness, at home or on journey, in strength or weakness. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Fadhkurullah. Fadhkur means remember. Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do we remember Allah? If we know something and we don't do it, we don't remember that. You have to continue the path which you are taught, which you are told to continue to follow, and you are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And As-Suddi, Al-Qur'ani, Ibn Kathir, and many others said that according to glorious Quran, the obligation of praying in time is never removed, is never relaxed, never removed, except in fear and except in the time of your physical participation in war. This is why the prayer differs from other acts of worship which can be delayed or not performed if you don't have the capacity. You don't have to go for Hajj. You don't have to pay zakat. If you don't have capacity, you don't have to pay zakat. And like husband and wife, suppose the husband is rich and wife is not. Guess what? He cannot say that I'm giving zakat, the religious alms, zakat. I'm giving religious alms to my wife. No, you can't. She's your responsibility. You can't give it to your parents. You can give it to your deserving brother or sister, but you can't. But if the wife is rich and husband is poor, then the wife can give zakat to her husband. And Ibn al-Arabi said that matter of prayers and timing of prayers is of an immense importance, and cancelling or delaying prayer except what is allowed in Quran and Sunnah resembles the faithlessness of the person who delays the prayer. Especially Asr prayers. It has said in one of the hadith that in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, narrated by Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Masud, that if a person does not pray Asr, he will be brought in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a bankrupt person, which has lost everything. His family and all his possessions. What is the meaning of possession? Not only Toyota Corolla outside. No. It's about every good deed you do means nothing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you miss Asr prayer. These are some of the things which we need to really seriously follow. Because believe me, if we leave without faith this life, guess who is the loser? If all of us stay in prostration to God till the cows come home, it does not help God. It does not increase in His might or His majesty. He is what He is. He is the creator, He is the provider, He is the cherisher, He is the nourisher. He created you, He will bring you, He is sustaining you still. And look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People like me, continuously deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And don't do what we are supposed to do. And we are still ticking and alive. Why? Because God is still expecting us that someday He will be at my house. Someday He will look at me and say, I need your help. And guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you all know better than I do, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives everything to everybody. It doesn't come from nobody else but God. Remember that. It doesn't come from nobody else but God. Okay? From any means you get, it's coming because of His benevolence, because His mercy, because His majesty, and because His kindness towards you and His love and care towards you. It comes from there. There is one thing which Allah does not give to everybody. What do you think that is? One thing Allah gives everything to everybody. Even the deniers of God have that. They can breathe, they can exhale and inhale. They have fruits, they have water, they have body, they have blood, they have kidneys, They have everything, like you have. One thing Allah does not give to those, to people, except until you ask for it. And that is the guidance, the correct guidance. Hidayah is not given to people until and unless you beg in front of Him and say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, guide us to the right path. When you ask, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, yes, I will. He's giving you everything else. What happens to us that we don't ask for the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And when we do, we get it. And guess what? As soon as we start asking, whatever you did before that day is all wiped out, it's all gone. He is so merciful that you did wrong to yourself. Or you hurt somebody else, you did wrong to that person. Okay? But the day you ask that person to forgive you and he forgives you, and the day you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you and guide you, all those things are behind you. They are not in your account anymore. Let's not forget the prayers, my respected brothers and sisters. We have 5 minutes left. We started 2 minutes late, 6 minutes left. I keep gaining time. I love talking. So in the next ayah is ayah number 240. We have been doing, those who are new to this program, my respected brothers and sisters, we have for last 4.5 years, in last 4.5 years, we have reached to only 240 ayat of Quran. Every week we talk about it. In 4.5 years we reached 240 ayat of Quran. And any time, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, that any time I start working on Tafsir, for this 1 hour of program, sometimes I have to prepare 20 to 30 hours a week from different references. And every time I sit down and to understand and to take my notes, sometimes I tear up and I said, oh my God, I have lived all these many years and I didn't know this little bit. When you start reading the book of God, you would be shocked. It will shock you that how many times that it looks like that God is talking to you directly through that verse, through that ayah. He's giving you hope or he is warning you. He's giving you hope to come to him. And you still don't go to him. So the next part of the next ayah is, which we will finish inshallah in 4 minutes. And those who die and leave behind wives should bequeath for their wives a year of maintenance and residence without turning them out. There are a lot of stories in our communities. A woman lost her husband, and the mother outlaw and father outlaw would be out there, a brother and sister outlaw would be out there, kick that woman out of the house. This ayah, there are many ayat on this topic. This ayah is from very early days of Islam. This ayah was sent down, and the topic has been covered in an ayah which we discussed. Last 2.5 months we have been talking about 9 ayat of Quran every week. 2.5 months we have talked about the matters related to marital relationship and divorce, and what Quran says about it. And we are dumbfounded. Muslims don't know what Islam is. I'm sorry to say, including me. The waiting period of 4 months and 10 days upon the death of a husband is obligatory. Somebody's husband died, 4 months and 10 days. That has to, except for a pregnant woman. Her iddah, her waiting period, is 40 days after she gives birth, not 4 months and 10 days. Once she becomes clean, after 4, this in Arabic it's called nifas, and after the nifas, the 40-day period, when she is clean, she is out of iddah. If she has her husband died before during her pregnancy. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, Ibn Zayd, and Rabi ibn Anas said that there is an earlier ayah. This is an earlier ayah of the Quran on this topic, that a widow should stay in the house of her husband for a year, and that she is entitled for total maintenance for that time. And the maintenance is not at the mercy of mother outlaw or father outlaw. Just note that I'm not calling mother-in-law or father-in-law. Most of the in-laws turn out to be outlaws, after a few years of marriage. So, with all due respect to everybody, that she should not, they remove, the husband died, the woman is there, they remove her. They take her out. They say, we are trying to sell the house. Well, in those days, there were no joint ownership concept. Everything was owned in the time before the advent of Islam. Everything was owned by men. And the men, we have no respect for women. First of all, we don't care, because we are stronger than them, so we can railroad them anytime we want. So people used to take them out of the houses, and they used to take over their things. And then this ayah number 234, that's where the inheritance, the law of inheritance was sent down. There was no law of inheritance before that. So, as a matter of fact, Islam is the only religion which gives you the rules of marriages, rules of divorce, and how the divorce is to be pronounced. There is no divorce if the woman is during her menses. There is no divorce. It's not counted. Then a divorce the woman should not be given 3 divorces at one time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at one time somebody came and told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that so and so has divorced his wife and pronounced divorce 3 times in one sitting. He got angry and he stood up and people saw that his face turned red, which he has never been noticed that angry. And he said, I'm among you and you are making joke of Allah's orders. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh used to flog people, 80 times used to flog people in the city center who used to divorce their wife without giving them a chance. First divorce, 3 menses period and 2 clean period. Then second divorce, 3 months. Before that is ila. There is a thing called وَالَّذِينَ يُولُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ تَرَبَّصُوا أَرْبَعَةَ أَشْهُرٍ وَعَشْرًا. تَرَبَّصُوا أَرْبَعَةَ أَشْهُرٍ. That a person can stay away from his wife for 4 months and does not, have a spousal relationship with her. That is ila. We don't know that. Neither we know that, not our speakers tell us. Because people come to get a fatwa, give $250 to anybody with a beard and get a fatwa from in writing. This is what we brought Islam to close to like a circus. The clowns are ruling. And then it says in the days of the ruling was changed later on when Quran established the rules of iddah in different situations and gave the laws of inheritance. The ayah establishes the relatives of deceased husband and his heirs must not expel that widow from the house, and it also establishes that her maintenance allowance should be at the same standard as she used to get during the lifetime of her husband. Cannot be reduced. Then it says, the next part says, but if the widows leave, there is no blame on anyone. What they decide to do with themselves, provided it is honorable. Honorable means what? Lawful marriage. If a woman's husband died, she comes out of her period, the 4 month and 10 days iddah, and after the 4 month and 10 days iddah has expired, she can marry with anybody. She doesn't have to live in the husband's house for 1 year and keep mourning him. That, oh, my husband died, so I'm not going to wear this and I'm not going to do this and I'm not. No, that's only for the iddah period, not after that. In our cultures, if a woman's husband died, we start looking down at her. That, he was okay, he married this woman 3 years ago and now he died. Like that woman killed him. These are some of the evils, social evils of our society which we need to understand and we need to avoid. Then there is no blame on the guardian or a judge who allows that woman for another marriage. If she goes out and marries somebody else, there is nothing wrong if she gets married before 1 year. Though this is an ayah of Quran, but this was an early ayah of Quran. So what it shows us that that we have to know all ayat of Quran on a certain topic. You have to know the ayat of Quran on salah. Don't take one ayah of Quran and give a judgment on it. Find out that what was the shan al-nuzul, why that ayah was sent down, what was happening at the time, and why some specific event took place, and that's when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam received Jibreel, and he got the new revelation about that. So the last ayah on that topic is the ayah which the orders of that ayah should be applied, not the ayahs before. But because Allah sent this ayah, no man is authorized to take anything out of Quran, so those are left there, so people should know the whole sequence of events and what was behind it and why it was sent. But the last ayah, if there are more than one ayah on that topic, the last ayah would be applicable. Widows may remarry after their waiting period, and what is honorable means what is not lewd. They don't start having girlfriend, boyfriends outside. If they want to marry without doing any lewd act, and they want to marry, then there is no blame on anybody, and she cannot be told not to marry. She cannot be forced not to marry. أقول قولي هذا واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. We will inshallah make dua And inshallah, next week we will continue on the ayah number 241 and 242. And let's make dua inshallah. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب جهنم وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك إيمانا كاملا ويقينا صادقا ورزقا واسعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا وحلالا طيبا وتوبة نصوحا وتوبة قبل الموت وراحة عند الموت والمغفرة عند الحساب والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. والفاتحة. Thank you for coming. Jazakumullahu khairan. This program has been going on for the last 4.5 years. Like I said, posted.